Okay. In the last two sessions, we have covered few modularization techniques that are include programs and subroutines. So in subroutines, we have few other concepts which are not really very important in S4HANA programming environment, but still we'll discuss those concepts in miscellaneous concepts once we completed all the important topics. Okay. And today we'll see how function modules, we are going to use these function modules as a modularization units in ABAP. So what are function modules? Function module is one of the modularization technique. Function module is one of the modularization technique. Unlike subroutines, it is available globally. Subroutines are available locally, right? But function modules are available globally. Any program or any object in SAP ABAP can use function modules, can call the function module. Okay. So include program cannot accept any input and cannot return any output, right? But function module can accept the input and can return the output You might observe functions who are all familiar with any programming language like C, procedural programming language. C might observe functions available in C. How many of you know functions? No one knows functions in C? Okay, maybe, yeah, that's okay. So functions are reusable blocks available globally. If you take subroutines, subroutine is local to the single program, right? But when you create a function module, that is available globally to the entire system. Okay. Okay. These are global reusable blocks, right? These are available globally. So function modules are in the short in short I'm going to call them as FMs, right? In general project terminology. So when you are working in a project, so everyone used to refer function modules as FMs. FMs are nothing but function modules, right? FMs can function modules can be executed independently, right? Accepts the inputs. Function modules can accept the input and returns the output. Okay. So function modules can execute independently. Can we execute include programs independently? No. You can call these include programs in one executable program and their that executable program can execute whatever the code available in include program. Can you execute subroutines independently? No. You can create a subroutine in a executable program or in a include program, and it should be part of that executable program. Then only this subroutine is going to be executed along with the executable program. We cannot execute subroutine independently, right? When it is part of some executable program, then only we can execute, right? But function modules, once you created the function module, you can execute the function module independently, right? You can execute the function module independently. It will accept the input and return the output. But usually we call these reusable function modules reusable blocks in our programs to perform some functionality. Okay. So now today's session we'll see how to use, how to call function modules in programs, and how to pass the inputs, and how to return the outputs. So there are different types of function module. There are three types of function modules. What are the three different types of function modules? Normal function module. What is normal function module? This can be called only within the same SAP system. We cannot call this function module in a different SAP system. Different in the sense, a completely different SAP system, not in the current SAP system, right? If you want to call a function module in other SAP system, you cannot call the normal function modules. Normal function modules can be globally used within the same SAP system. For example, if you see here, we have 2021 and 2020 ECC, three different systems, right? So when you created, or when a function module is available in 2020, and if it is a normal function module, you can call that function module only in 2021 server. You cannot call that function module in 2020 server. Okay, that's what normal function module. If you create one function module in 2020, you can call module globally only within the 2020 server. Okay. Second one is remote enabled function module, in short RFC, right? Can be called in same or other SAP systems, right? When you create a type RFC function module, you can call that function module in other SAP systems too. But the other system should be a SAP system, right? So when you create a function in 2021, you can call that function module in 2020 also. You can execute that function module from 2020 also. That is what remote enabled function module. For that, a connection should be available. Okay, a connection should be available between two different systems. We'll discuss more about RFC function modules when we are working on interfaces. Interfaces means connecting one system data to another system, or exchanging data between different systems. We'll explain more about RFCs in the different system. Sorry, when we are talking about interfaces. So we have third function module, that is update function module. What is update function module? So we use update function module when whenever we work with the database operations. So whenever I have created a update function module that is relevant to some database operations, when I'm inserting, updating or deleting data from tables, database tables, right? So why we use update function modules is, for example, in one function module we are updating multiple tables or we are inserting data into multiple tables. For example, table 1 data insertion is successful, table 2 data insertion is also successful, but table 3 data insertion is failed. For example, let's take an example, our purchase order data. We are inserting data into purchase order tables. So it is inserted successfully into EKKO, but it is failed to insert same data into EKPO. Like item level data is failed. Item level database operation is failed. Now, do I need to confirm that record? Is it a valid record? It is saved in header level and failed in item level. Is it a valid record? No, right? So I want to confirm all the database changes once all table operations are successfully completed. All table operations are successfully completed, right? Then I'll use commit work. So what is the statement I use to confirm the database changes? Commit work to revert, rollback, right? So when this update function module will actually execute, when we execute the commit work, when we execute the statement commit work, then this update function module will be actually executed, right? When there is any issue in any table, we are not going to execute the commit work. So that if all the table updations are all the database operations on the tables are completed successfully, then we are going to execute the commit work. Then this update function module will execute and insert the or update the records in the database tables, right? So to make some consistency, to achieve the consistency in database operations, we use update function modules. When this subject update function module will execute, after commit work statement, right? It's a very important interview question. Definitely you'll get this question, like what are the different types of function modules? Normal function module, remote enabled function module, and update function module. And the interviewer will emphasize on update function module, why we use update function module. And we have a concept called logical unit of work, right? LUW, in short we call this as LUW, logical unit of work, right? Logical unit of work means a period or a window of database operations, right? A period or window of database operations. So it will collect all the database operations until some specific period. That is called logical unit of work. When this logical unit of work will be completed, when we execute commit work, right? That logical unit of work will complete and all the database operations will be, if it is a insert, records will be inserted into database table. If it is update or modify, records will be updated or modified in the database table, right? So when the update function module is going to execute, after commit work statement, clear? So whenever someone asks you about update function module, what should comes to your mind? Database operations, like inserting data into database table, right? And when the update function module will execute, after commit work. Yeah, let's come back to the function modules. Okay, So to create the function module, we need a function group. We observed the function group when we are working on table maintenance generators, right? We need a function group. What is a function group? So all the function modules will be saved in a function group. Function group is a container which contains all related function modules, a group of related function modules, right? What is a function group? Function group contains a function group contains a group of relevant function modules or related function modules. For example, if you take function modules using for sales and distribution, so there will be a function group. For example, Z sales, right? All the sales and distribution related function modules will be assigned to that function group. So these function modules will be sharing all the global data, whatever the global variables or whatever the global internal tables work areas, right? These relevant function modules will be sharing that global data of the function group. Okay. Okay. So function module shares the global data of function group. When we are creating the function module, all the relevant function modules will be assigned to one function group. For example, sales and distribution function modules to a sales and distribution related function group, and human resources related function modules, which includes that human resources functionality, we are going to assign that all those function modules to another function group, right? So that all the global data will be shared by all these function modules. Okay, is everyone clear on this? So to create a function module, what is necessary? Function group is necessary, function group is required. Okay, it's like a container for different relevant function modules, right? We are not going to save any random function module in one function group. That function modules should be relevant, a group of relevant function modules. For example, there are function modules for arithmetic operations. We are going to create all those arithmetic operation related function modules to one function group, right? And we have standard function modules. What are standard function modules? Standard function modules are already provided by SAP. We can also call predefined function modules. We have hundreds of function modules already available to perform different operations, different calculations, right? If the standard function modules are not suitable for our requirement, what we do? The standard function modules are not suitable for our requirement. What we are going to do? We are going to create our own custom function modules, right? If the standard function modules provided by SAP are not suitable for our requirement, we are going to create our own function modules. Those are custom function modules, right? But calling the function module and whatever the input parameters, output parameters, everything will be same. There is no change between standard function module and custom function module, right? Only thing is custom function module will starts with Z or Y. Clear? Standard function module can be any type of the function module, normal, remote, update. Similarly, when we are creating the function module, we are going to choose what type of function module we need. Is it a normal, remote enabled, or RFC function module, right? What is the transaction code to access the function module or to create the function module? SE37. SE37 is the function module. Sorry, transaction code to create or change function modules. We can access standard function modules as well as custom function modules in the same transaction code. Okay. So whenever you create a function module and assign it to a function group, what will happen? That function module will be added as a new include program to the function group. How it is going to add to the function group? Each new function module will be added as a include program to the function group like this. Let's assume this is a function group. Let's assume this is a function group. FM1, FM2, FM3. Now it's a function group. For example, some FG1. Let's take it function group. Now, how these function modules are going to be assigned to this function group? So there will be one common include program, that is some top include. What this top include will contain? All the global declarations. All the global declarations which are going to shared by all these different function modules. And then for each function module, we will be having a one include program. For example, F1, FM1. Similarly, we have different. Whenever you assign a new function module, a new include will be assigned to the function group. Right? Is everyone clear? So all these function modules will be assigned to this function group. What is the prerequisite to create a function module? What is the prerequisite to create a function module? Yeah, function group is required. Okay. It's a function group. Prerequisite to create the function module is function group. Without the function group, you cannot create the function module. Is everyone clear? Got some idea? Now let's see how we are going to access the function module. So what is the transaction code for function modules? SE37. So this is the function builder. You can also call the function builder, right? So this is the function module screen. Here we can access standard function modules as well as custom function modules. Okay, let's see some any standard function module. Uh, we'll find some date related function modules, some date calculation related function modules. I'm typing like this date. So these are all standard function modules available to which are related to some date. Okay, for example, let's take this one, CRM dates weekend days display. Let's see what is the use of this function module. So it's in German. Short text is in German because it's a standard function module. Let's find any documentation available. Documentation. Go to documentation. So there is no documentation available for this. But observe here, this is called function module interface. Whatever the options you are seeing here, what we call this function module interface. So go to attributes. What can you see here? In attributes, you can find type of function module, what type of function module it is, and when it is created and who created this. Okay, right? So what type of function module it is? Regular, regular or normal in the sense regular function module. Let me I think in ECC you can find it as normal function module. Where is it? You can also call normal function module or regular function module. Both are fine. Other type is remote enabled function module. The other type is update function module. Three types of function modules. When you are creating a new function module, you have to check the relevant option. You have to select the relevant option. So you can find in attributes what you can find. So what is the type of the function module and the change log, who created, when it is created, who last changed it. Okay, you can find all these attributes. So what you can find in function module interface, attributes, and next importing parameters. What is import? Import is to pass the inputs. Import is to pass the inputs, right? So this is the input name and this is the type nothing but this might be a data element or structure or database table, right? If you pass data element, structure or database table, how this iv underscore factory calendar is going to work? What is this? Double click on this. So this is the data element, right? Factory calendar data element. Go back. So this is going to act as a variable, a single value. It can accept a single value as input when you pass data element. Let's say if you pass a structure here, it acts as a work area. Structure or table, both. Even if you pass the table, it's going to act as a work area only. I'll show you How to pass internal table data as input, we'll discuss that later. So what we can provide in import parameter? Import is to pass the inputs. These are the inputs for the function module. Whatever parameters defined in import are the inputs for the function module. If you observe here, can you tell me what are the mandatory inputs here? No, language is the optional input. That's why they have selected optional checkbox, right? For factory calendar, optional checkbox is not selected. So that it is a mandatory input. Without this, you cannot execute the function module. Clear? Go to export. What is export? So this is some naming convention, like, right? This parameter name, right? You can give any name, but as per some naming convention, naming standards, right? So E, they are starting with E. E means exporting parameter. ET means looks like it is a table which is going to return internal table data, multiple records. Double click on this. Yes, it is a table type, so that we can assume that it's going to return multiple records. If you define this using a data element, what it will return? A single value. For example, employee ID or employee name or city, like that. If you defined it with the help of structure or a table, it will return a single record. Okay, and we have a concept called table type. We'll discuss that later. So what is the export option? Export parameter and function module interface. This is to return the output. Return the output. Now go to changing. What is changing? Changing is combination of both import and export. We can pass the data as input and return the output by using changing parameter, right? We can pass some data as input, and by doing some calculations we can change that data. We can validate that data, and we can populate with correct data and return the output. That is changing. Changing is combination of import and export. Go to tables. So actually tables are obsolete. Obsolete nothing but outdated concept in function modules, right? When we are creating a new function module, we are not going to use tables. So the existing function modules created by SAP years ago, still you can see tables. Like you can see parameters defined in tables. But when you are creating a new function module, okay, it's a outdated concept. Usually tables parameter is to pass the internal table data as input and return the internal table data as output. Okay, by using tables parameter we can pass the internal table data and we can return the internal table data, right? Go to exceptions. What are the exceptions? Exceptions are used for error handling. What are the exceptions? Exceptions are used for error handling in the function module. So you can define different exceptions here. Each exception, when you call the function module, when you execute the function module, each exception will return one value, subrc value. First exception subrc value is 1. Second exception subrc value is 2. Third exception subrc value is 3. Like that, your subrc value will be updated. Depends on the exception we are going to raise inside the function module. So what is the use of exception? For error handling, to raise the errors, to return the errors for the calling program wherever we are calling, so that we can understand. So there is something wrong with the function module execution. There is some error in the function module execution, right? We're going to use this exceptions concept. Now go to source code. In source code section, we are going to write our actual code by using these importing parameters as input and return data to this export or changing parameter, right? Clear? For example, this is one function module, right? CRM dates, weekend days. This is one standard function module provided by SAP. Within that standard function module, if you observe this, there is another function module called here days names get, day names get. What is this? This is also a function module. So in one function module, we can call other function modules. Correct? So what are these? Exceptions. Each exception contains a value, sub RC value. Sub RC is not equal to 0 means there is some error in the function module execution. What do you mean by sub RC not equal to 0? Some exceptions are raised. If sub RC is equal to 1, which exception is raised? This one. If sub RC equal to 1, day names not found. Sub RC equal to 2, other exception. Right? So double click on this function module. This is how you are going to call your function module using call function. Using call function, you are going to call your function module. Double click on this function module, or you can also open this in a new session SC37. Double click. Here, if you observe, what are we passing here? Language. IV underscore language. Looks like some language we are passing, and we are returning day names. Day names get. Looks like we are selecting all the names of the days. Let's see how it will work. Here, if you observe, where are we passing the input? In exporting. But actually, it is import in the function module. When we call the function module, it is export. I'll show you. Wait. Observe this. Day names underscore get. What is the import of this function module? Language, right? Language, and there is some other option, Boolean option. I don't know what is this. ISO, non-ISO. I don't know. If you observe here, is there any mandatory input for this function module? No, there is no mandatory input. Both are optional inputs. Go to export. So in import, we have language and non-ISO. In import, go to export. What do you have in export? Return code, sub RC value. They are returning some sub RC value in export parameter. They are returning some sub RC value. Go to changing. No parameters are in changing. Go to tables. In tables, what they have? Day names. What is that reference table type? What is the reference type? T246. What is, double click on this? Is it a structure or a table? Let's check. So you can use both structures and tables here. So we are returning day names as output using tables parameter. Anyway, as I told you, it is outdated. Since it is created years ago, they are still using tables parameter. Instead of that, you can use export and changing. It is taking time. Let me just try in other server. What is the function module name? Day names get. Go to SC37. Day underscore names. If you don't remember what you need to do, just use stars. Okay. Go to tables. So this is the output data. What is T246? It is a transparent table. It is a table. What it contains? Check the data in this table. Okay. So it is returning week names Monday to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and like that. So that names are going to maintain in this text table. It seems it's a text table, right? We have a sparse language key. It looks like it is a text table for week names. So here it is maintained in different languages. Let's try English first. How many you are going to get? 7 week names, right? This is the text table for week names. When you are working on the project, if you need to get the week names, this is the text table T246. Okay? Instead of hard coding week names, you can get from here. If you pass one, it will return Monday. So what is this function module used for? To return the week names. So if you go to the source code, what you can find here, you can find some select statement on that that function module. Sorry, that table. Double click on the subroutine. Somewhere, yeah. Here is the select statement. Inside this function module, they have implemented. So now, if you need a requirement to get the week names, do you need to write the same select statement again and again? No. You just call this function module in your program. It will return the week names. Okay. So in exceptions, how many exceptions are there? One exception is defined. Import is to pass the input. Language is our input. If you go to the calling where we are calling this in another function module, right? Since it is function modules are global reusable objects, you can call the function modules in programs or within the other function modules or different objects are like class methods. So we are calling here. What is exporting in the function module interface? Import, right? So whatever we defined in the import section, when we are calling this in the code, it becomes exporting, right? Please observe that. When you call this in the program, import will become export and export will become importing. Please observe that difference. Okay. So I told you function modules we can execute independently, right? Now let's try to execute this. How to execute? This one. Execute. By default, it is populating en. Why it is automatically populating en? Go back to the importing. Here, if you observe default values, what they're passing in the default value? S5 langu, because it will automatically populate default value to the input if you pass any default value here. Okay. For this, they're not populating anything. They are populating space. That's why it is blank. So execute now. What is subrc? Return code is subrc value, right? Export. Return code is subrc value. 0. Subrc 0 means no error. Names. Click on this result. So it returned the data, right? Whatever the data available in the T246. Correct? So we can, wherever you need to get week names. What is the function module you need to call? Name of the all weeks. This is the function module. Day names underscore get. You can just reuse this function module wherever you need to get this data, week names data. Correct? By language. Let me pass DE. DE means German. We got it right. Weeks data, weeks records in German. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know how to read. Let me pass some incorrect value, that is some X. Let's see how it will work. It did not return anything. Let me pass some number, how it will work. No, it is not returning anything, empty. Correct? What is the exception that is raised? If you pass the incorrect value, which exception is raised? Day names not found. Let me pass the correct value. For example, EN. Is there any exception? There is no exception, right? If I pass the correct value, exception is not raised. Okay. So when the exception will be raised? When there is some error, when there is some issue in the function module. So that when we are calling it, we can understand like what is the exception and what is the issue and how we can fix it. So what are the options we have in function module interface? Attributes. It's a very important interview question, right? What are the options available in function module interface? In attributes. In attributes, you can find what type of function module it is and what is the package assigned to this function module and what is the function group and who changed it and when it is created. This is the function group. This is the function group of this function module, right? In attributes, you can find the function group. Double click on the function group and see what you can find. Go to master program. What you can find here? A top include, a top include for global data for all the function modules assigned to this function group. Okay, global declarations, right? Internal tables, work areas, whatever, right? All these are accessible to all the function modules assigned to this function group. The data whatever available in those table, internal tables or work areas will be available for all these function modules. So if you observe this, each include belongs to a separate function module. This is one function module. This is another function module. Month name get. This is another function module. Holiday calendar get. This is another function module. Factory calendar get. So what is the use of this function module? Holiday calendar get. Can you get? Can you just guess by holidays in the year, holidays in the current year, right? Month names get. You can get all the names of the months, right? Double click on this include. It should take you to the function module actually, or that. Okay, we are in the include program. Just try to execute this. It should execute the function module. Master program is not executable program. Okay, we cannot execute from here. Okay, if you take this function module and open in a separate session, so each include belongs to one function module, correct? Month's name get. Go to importing. We have language, that is optional. If you don't enter anything, it will take Psi language as default language. Okay, login language as default language if you don't enter anything. In export, return code subarc value, changing nothing. Tables, we have month names. What is T246? T246 is the text table for week names, right? What is T247? Month names table. Okay, if you just execute this function module, by default it is populating en. You can get month names, right? Whenever you need month names, if there is such requirement in your program, what is the function module you need to call? Month names get. You can just call this function module in your program. Okay, Clear? So what are the options in function module interface? Attributes, import. Import is to pass the input. Export. Export is to return the output. Changing. Changing is combination of both the import and export. Tables. Tables is used to pass the internal table data as input or return the internal table data as output. Exceptions. Exceptions are used to raise the errors. Return the errors. Source code. Source code, in source code section, we write our actual code by using importing and exporting parameters. So if you observe here, did you find any difference? Are we writing any different language or different syntaxes here? Is the statements familiar for you or not? Data, we are defining a variable. If statement, are you not familiar with if statement? Clear, refresh, subroutine, perform. These are all normal ABAP statements only, right? Nothing new. Message, we are raising the error message here. What is difference here? We are just using a separate transaction code SE37 and we are defining importing and exporting. That's it. Here we are going to write a normal ABAP statements only, whatever we have observed till now in SE38 programming. That's why I told you, if you know the basic programming, everything is very similar. Only these options will be different, right? Here we just need to learn how to provide the inputs and how to return the output. Remaining source code is same. That normal select statements or normal loop, read, if statements, whatever you observed in SE38, right? That's why you should be very perfect in the basic programming because we are going to use same programs everywhere. Only the transaction code or the environment will be different. Clear? Is everyone clear? So let's make a note of these options. Attributes. What you can find in attributes? Let's function module interface. What are the options you can find in function module interface? First one is attributes. Hmm. So what you can find here? Function group. Function group name. Please mute. Type of function module. Wherever we refer FM means function module. Okay. Type of function module. Created. Or change log. I can say change log. Maybe created date. Okay. These are the important options we are going to find in attributes. Function module attributes. Do we need to enter anything in attributes? No. It will automatically generate those details. Depends on the options you selected. Import. What is import option? Not to return the input, to pass the inputs. Right? We return output. This can be mandatory or optional. Inputs can be mandatory input or optional inputs. Export, return the output. Okay, return the output. Output can be anything. Input or output can be anything. Just compare it with your data objects. Input can be a single value variable or a work area record, a record which contains multiple fields, a single record, or internal table, right, with multiple records. Input can be any input like variable, work area, or internal table. Depends on that, we have to define these importing or exporting parameters. What is the type of input we are accepting? Depends on that, we have to define that, right? Export, we return the output. The output can be a single value like variable, or a complete record, or internal table type with multiple records, right? What is fourth one? Changing. Changing is simply combination of import plus export. So we can return the output, or sorry, we can pass the input, and within the same parameter we can return the output. Okay. For example, we return we pass some employee name. So inside the function module, we calculate something, we apply some conditions and validate that employee name, and we can correct the employee name if there are any spelling mistakes and return the correct value. Okay. Similar kind of example when we use changing. So it is combination of import plus export. We can pass the input and we can return the input in the same parameter. Similarly, that can be a variable, work area kind of record, or internal table type of data. What is the next one? Tables. Internal table in the sense, just remember we are going to return multiple records. Okay. Here in this standard function module example, what we are using. So what SAP has defined, tables only, right? So it is returning internal table data as output, right? With all the week names or with all the month names, multiple records, right? Not a single record, correct? So we can pass internal table data as input or return internal table data as output. For both, we can pass the input as internal table data or we can return the output, but it is outdated or obsolete, right? Since let's look at the attributes of this function module. When it is created, last change is done 2019, but when it is created actually, go to version management. Yeah, that version management is not available, but the last change is 2019. That okay, we don't know when it is created. This might be created 10 years ago or 20 years ago even, right? So that's why they are still using tables. But when you are creating a new function module, okay, we have to go by this exporting or changing parameters. If you want to pass internal table data, use importing. Return the internal table data, use export or changing. What is the next option? Yeah, exceptions. So what is the use of exceptions? For error handling. Yeah, to raise the errors. We use what is that? We use raise statement to raise the errors. Next one is source code. Okay. What's what I'm doing? Okay, I'll correct this and send you. Sixth one is exceptions, rise errors, and seventh one is source code. Okay, implement code using exporting and importing parameters. Clear? Is everyone clear? Shall we just create a sample program to call this function module? Any standard function module, and then in the next session we'll see how to create our own function modules. I think we have already opened the session. Which function module we are going to call? Shall we call this one? Day names get. Okay. Open this function module in SC37. How to execute it? You can execute directly in SC37. Execute, pass the input and execute it. It will return the output, right? But how to call this in a program or in any other function module? Go to SC38. We'll create a sample program to create the function module. Zdemo score fm call 1 create. Type of the program is executable program. Save. For now, save it in the local object, but in your actual project, save it in the actual package. Now, initialization at selection screen. Now, call your function module is the what? Okay, so let's assume functionality of this program is to return the weak names. Okay, the functionality of this program is to return the weak names. First, let's call the function module. We'll take one parameter, importing parameter, that is language, right? If we, whatever the language we enter here, it should display that language text in that language. What is the type? So this one we have to pass it to the function module, right? As input language, correct? We have to pass language as input, right? For the function module. Go to the function module and check what is, go to import, and what is the type using here? Use the same type, use the same type. So use the same data element or function name, whatever associated type means, that might be a data element, structure name or table name. So use the same data element name in your program, because we need to pass it to the function module, right? Both should be compatible. That is very important. Both should be of same type. Whatever the actual parameter we are passing here and the formal parameter which you have defined in importing parameter, both should be referring to the same type. Type in the sense data element or structure or table. Now call your function module. How to call a function module? So what is the statement? What is the statement to call the function module? Call function. And here we have an option to call the function module, that is pattern or control F6. The shortcut is control F6. Click on pattern, enter the function module name, click on continue. That's it. Your function module is called automatically. Now, if you observe, all the import becomes exporting here, and export become importing here, right? Now we need to pass the inputs, your actual parameters, to this export. Enable this. These are all by default commented because these are all optional, right? No mandatory parameters. These are not mandatory, right? That's why by default it is displaying as commented text. Enable this, enable the exporting, and enable the language. So by default it is passing what is the default value? Default is system language, right? That's why it is automatically populating this system language. Pass your parameter here instead of system language. So this is not required, non-ISO. Let's remove this. Since it is optional, we don't need this. Remove this. And also importing. Return code is also not mandatory, right? What is the export? We don't know. Just returning some sub-RC value. Let's keep it as it is, or we'll enable this. Importing also enabled. If we observe this, when you call the function module, it is automatically defining the relevant data objects. One variable for language, one variable for ISO, one variable for return code, and what is this? Why it is defining type standard table of? It is automatically defining type standard table of T246. Why? Because this returning internal table type data. What it is returning? Internal table type data. For example, if you don't see all of this, what you need to do? Define one internal table to return that output. Data it underscore week names type. What is the type we have to take? Go to the tables. What is the associated type? T246. Since it is defined in the tables, we can easily say that it is an internal table type data, right? Now what we need to define in the program? Internal table, right? Type standard table of that table name. Okay. If you find any parameter in tables, that is internal table. That's going to return internal table type data. Blindly follow that. Okay. You have to define internal table in the program level to handle that. So yes, week names what? Okay. Now pass the internal table here. It is automatically defining some parameters automatically, data objects automatically. When you call the function module, it is automatically defining relevant data objects in the program, right? If you want to use, you can directly use it. Just enable this and use it. You don't need to define anything. Just enable this. That will return data to this day names internal table. This is the internal table. Or you can define your own internal tables. So I have defined my own internal table. Week names. Both should be of same type. Please remember, right? Enable the exceptions. I've enabled the exception. If s5 hyphen equal to 0 means what? function module is executed successfully, no exceptions are raised. If else if sy hyphen equal to 1, what does that mean? There is an exception, will raise a error message. Okay, error in fm, some error. Okay, type e. Again, don't use hard coded text, use here text symbol. Okay, and use constant for this one error, character 1. Now my function module calling is completed, right? So if it is sub rc equal to 0, I'll display the output cl demo output display it. I'm going to return the output into week and week names, right? Internal table, right? I'm going to display whatever the data available in this internal table because I'm going to return my output into this internal table. Return code also returning the output here. Return code is unknown, so we did not define it. So it is automatically created some declarations, right? We'll just enable it. Return code also returning some output. Okay, in importing, return code also returning some output, some subrc value. In exporting, we are passing the input to the function module. Now tell me, when you compare it with subroutine, which one is actual parameter and which one is formal parameter? P underscore lang is the actual parameter and language is the formal parameter, which is inside the function module here, right? We are passing input to this parameter language. Now execute your program, keep a breakpoint here, execute your program. So I'm entering en English to the language, execute. So if I click on F5, what will happen? It will go inside the function module. If I click on F6, it will complete function module execution in single step. Click on F6. It completed the function module execution in single step because I pressed F6. So I'm passing E and return code 0. That means subrc is 0. Week names, it returned 7 records. Right? Clear? But what is the subrc value? Subrc is 0. Then display the output. This is our output. Clear? Now let's try. Now I click on F5. What will happen? It will go inside that function module. If I click on F5, clicking on F5 or this one, single step, F5. So now we are in inside the function module. You can debug the function module. So observe this. Observe this. What is the condition they are checking? This is the importing parameter, right? Language. What is this condition? If we don't enter anything, if language is empty, then what they are populating? System language. So if you don't pass anything, it will automatically take system language as input because all the parameters are optional, right? All the importing parameters are optional. So that is the condition they are using here. Since it is not space, it is not executing, right? Then they are doing some refresh, then get day by names. This is the subroutine they are using inside the function module. So they are selecting data from this table T246. So they are using this describe table statement. What is the use of this describe table? This will return a number of records in the internal table. So let's this is the internal table. Day names buffer is the internal table, right? How can you count number of records in the internal table? Using describe table statement. Have we written this statement earlier? in our previous programs? I think yes, right? In the basic programs, we have seen this describes table statement to count the number of records in an internal table. That's it. Like still I'm in a function module, but I don't want to execute remaining statements. And I want to go back to the program, main program. What I need to do now? Which key I need to press? If I click on F5 or F6, it will still execute here step by step. If I want to return back to my calling program, press F7. Did I press F6? Yeah, F7. So it returned back to the calling program without executing remaining source code. Okay, clear? For example, I'll enter some incorrect value. 45 I'm entering. Let's see how function module will. So language 45 is not in the system. From where we are getting this error message? Can you tell me? From where we are getting this error message? Is it from function module? Is it from function module? From where this error message is returning? Is it from function module or from where? This is not from the function module. This is from the parameter itself. This might be from check table or value table, right? This one. So it seems it's a field level validation. That is foreign key. So foreign key relation is returning this error, right? For this. So it is doing some field level validation in the parameter itself. It is not even executing the function module. Please observe that. It is not even started executing the function module. It is validating in the parameter level itself. Okay, clear? So it is not allowing us to enter any incorrect value in the parameter. So usually if you enter any incorrect value, what is the sub RC? Sub RC will be 1. Okay, clear? So when you are calling the standard function modules, what you need to check, where you should be careful, defining actual parameters like variables, work areas or internal tables, what you are passing in importing and exporting parameters. Both should be compatible. Whatever the parameter defined in the function module should be using same type, right? We should use same type both in program and function module. Clear? That's why always check your function module before defining any actual parameter in the program. Okay, if you pass any incorrect type, it will raise the system exceptions. We'll see that. Is everyone clear on function modules? For example, if I pass some incorrect type here for uh, n type n, I'm passing. I've changed this data type, right? Is it compatible with the language? Tell me, is it compatible with the language? No, right? Both are different types. What is the type of this one? Language? It's slow today. What is the type of the language? SY Langu, go to the data element. We'll go here in 2020. It is a bit faster. It is what is the data type? Length 1. Component type, language type, length 1. But what are we passing here? Numeric type, right? Let's see how it will react, how the program will respond. We are passing number type. Activate the program. Keep a breakpoint here. In the first place, it won't accept any character. Execute. Let's see what will happen if you pass some incorrect type. I'm pressing F6. What it is saying? It is raising a runtime error, runtime exception. What it is saying? Type conflict. Type conflict during a function module call. The current ABAP program had been terminated because it found a statement that could not be executed. And also you can see here the details here in error analysis. So the function module interface was defined in a way, okay, can be specified under language, field type, specified here different types, right? So it is saying the language type is different and whatever the parameter you are passing, p underscore lang is different. If you go to source code extract, you can see the exact place where it is raising the error in the function module call. Go to your function module and fix the error. Sorry, go to your program, fix the error. So you can identify. So I'm able to identify that it is a issue with the parameter type conflict. I need to fix the type. I need to pass the same type what this language is using. Now I'll go to the function module and I'll check what is language is using. Type is SYLANG. I'll take the same type. Now it should work without any error or issue. En execute, press F6. Function module execution is completed and it can return the output. If you pass DE, it should display the output in German automatically. F8, so it is displaying the output in German. So is everyone clear how to call the function module? What are the different options in function module? So tomorrow we'll work on creating custom function modules. Okay. So if you know the basic ABAP programming, nothing new here. You are going to apply that ABAP coding in a new transaction code, that is SC37, by defining some importing and exporting parameters. Okay. So in the next session, we'll see custom function modules, how to create custom function modules and how to create a function group.